Tonight on this series, I do an impression of Gru for Despicable Me. Tonight we steal the moon. I can't do a good Gru. We discover that maths isn't real, sort of like the time in Kung Fu Panda where Poe slingshots and I fat shame a rocket to accommodate for the heckin' chonker profile of the lander. So we have a lot to look forward to in this episode, hopefully. Sorry about that Top Gear style intro. Someone pointed out in the last video that I had a bit of a Top Gear-y style, so I thought I would run with that bit. Here are the timestamps for today's video. Before we move on, that's right, 20-second recap time. You've just removed all those supports. Complete comp and never derivative in rule 4. Espionage. 3087. Let me introduce you to Kepler.
Isn't looking as American anymore. Of what I was doing to measure. First mission, pretty big success.
So in the last episode, we pretty much sorted out a basic understanding of orbital mechanics, which is just about good enough to get us to fly above the Mun. Ish. So now looking at our list, we pretty much have everything that we need to land on the Mun sorted out. We just need to plan the mission, build the rocket, and fly it. Which seems pretty simple, but, well, the length of this video probably speaks otherwise. So, let's dive into our Mun. First, I want to look at the different possible mission types. When we transfer to the Mun, we can either just aim for an encounter with the Mun and circularize, or we can aim for a free return trajectory. A free return trajectory sees the Mun's gravitational well to slingshot the spacecraft on a course which re-enters Kerbal's atmosphere. Sort of like the time in Kung Fu Panda where Poe slingshots the cannonball back at the big bird looking thing. So in the result of a failure or malfunction, your crew will be safely returned to Earth without much intervention. This is the trajectory that the Artemis II moon flyby used, and was the reason that the Apollo 13 astronauts survived, and these are obviously the real astronauts here. However, the likelihood of me actually being able to figure out how to do this mathematically is very, very, very small, seeing as in the last episode I managed to nearly crash into the Mun. However, I can tweak my burn from last episode to get it close enough to a free return trajectory. So we're going to aim for a free return trajectory. Next, we need to look at actually landing on the Mun. Now, I mentioned in the last episode that there are two primary ways in which you can land on the Mun, either Apollo style or everything lands on the Mun style. In an Apollo style mission, a dedicated moonlander detaches from the command module and lands on the Mun, before taking off from the Mun and rendezvousing with the command module in low lunar orbit. This makes the mission more efficient as the lander can be lighter, as it has fewer life support systems, and the mission requires less overall delta V to return to Kerbin, as the return to Kerbin is carried out by the command module which remains in orbit. Whereas in the everything lands on it style, the lander module also contains the segment which will return to Kerbin, so it will have a much greater mass as it contains all of the necessary flight systems. This makes this method significantly less efficient. However, it avoids the very complicated procedure of orbital rendezvous. Orbital rendezvous is something that I am not smart enough to work out. It's really hard, and I'm a medicine student, not a physicist or an engineer, so I can do 2D object rendezvous in a scenario on Earth with two balls being thrown using trigonometry. But in orbit, there are way too many variables for me to be able to realistically figure it out on pen and paper, especially without maneuver node planners or intercept indicators. So for our Mun mission, I'm going to have to go with the everything lands on the Mun style, which is significantly less efficient, but it will also result in me not ripping my hair out. Apollo style mission in the future. So let's get to the mission planning maths. We know the delta V requirement for our initial 100 km Kerbin orbit is in a ballpark figure of 4,000 meters per second, where we can calculate delta V using our helpfully in-house created equation, which is in place of the real delta V equation. The next segment of flight is the transfer to the Mun. Last episode we calculated that this should take approximately 850 meters per second of delta V. Then we'll need to capture it into the Mun's sphere of influence. I can quickly work out the delta V requirement for a 30 km orbit using this equation here. V is equal to the square root of gm over r, where we need to remember to use the mass of the Mun, which is 9.7599066 times 10 to the 20 kilograms, and the radius to the surface, which is 200,000 meters, to get a total r value of 230,000 meters. This gives us an orbital velocity of 532.17 meters per second. Gurlash. So if our 30 km orbit is approximately 550 meters per second of delta V, I can predict that the descent stage of lander will need 550 meters per second of delta V at a minimum. As we approach the Mun, we'll accelerate. For the sake of redundancy and to ensure I have sufficient delta V, I will assume that my landing profile will essentially be this. First, I'll scrub off all of my horizontal orbital velocity, so I'm going straight down with an initial velocity of 0 meters per second. Then, I'll accelerate towards the Mun's surface at a rate of, well, gravity, because all objects accelerate towards a body at the same rate irrespective of mass. The gravitational acceleration of the Mun is 1.625 meters per second, which can be worked out using this equation, where little g is equal to big G m over r squared. So, using the equation v squared is equal to u squared plus 2as, where u is the initial velocity, which is 0, acceleration is 1.625, and s is the distance, which is 30,000 meters, it gives us a final velocity, v, of 312.25 meters per second. So, in the most inefficient and terrible descent profile I could possibly think of, from a 30-kilometer orbit to landing at sea level, our lander will need 800 meters per second of delta v. We won't actually need this much, but it gives us some wiggle room, and that should help us to avoid a catastrophe. After landing, we will return to orbit. For efficiency, I'm going to aim for a 20-kilometer orbit, which is as low as I feel like I can safely make it given the Mun's surface height variation from craters and other features. An orbital height of 20 kilometers gives an orbital velocity of 543.969 meters per second. Then from here, we will need to determine the delta V requirement to escape the Mun's sphere of influence, which means we'll need a new equation. I can say that my total energy must always remain constant, as we determined last episode. Total energy is the sum of kinetic energy, half mv squared, and gravitational potential energy, which is minus gmm over r. To escape the gravitational field, I will need to be at an infinite distance away from the body mass. At this point, my craft is no longer under any gravitational influences, so its potential energy is equal to 0. Theoretically, we are determining the minimum velocity for our craft to escape its gravitational influence, so at an infinite distance away, the velocity will also be 0. Therefore, our kinetic energy is also 0, meaning our total energy is 0. This means we can rewrite our equation to have kinetic energy equal to gravitational potential energy, and doing some simple rearranging, we can get our escape velocity is equal to the square root of 2 gm over r. So, from our 20-kilometer orbit around the Mun, r is 220,000 meters, g is g, m is 9.7599066 times 10 to the 20, meaning our escape velocity is 769.2887921 meters per second. So, we will need to burn for a delta V of 225 meters per second to escape the Mun's sphere of influence and enter Kerbin's sphere of influence, helping us to fall back towards Kerbin. However, where in my orbit do I burn? Well, this is dependent on which direction I'm orbiting in, clockwise or anti-clockwise. I'm going to choose an anti-clockwise orbit, as this means that my burn takes place in communications range with Kerbin, so that any problems can be fixed remotely. As you probably noticed last episode, although my orbital trajectory was pointed towards Kerbin, because of the movement of the Mun, I was pulled along by the Mun's gravity well and was ejected into a very high orbit, which required an expensive burn to correct. In order to negate this, I will need to burn at an angle in my orbit so I can cancel out the velocity that the Mun adds to our spacecraft relative to Kerbin. First, I'll find the orbital velocity of the Mun using v is equal to the square root of gm over r, where g is still g, m is the mass of Kerbin, and r is the orbital height of 12 million meters. This gives a velocity of 542.413 meters per second. So my craft's delta v for its escape burn will be 770 meters per second. I will then need to separate this into its horizontal and vertical components to determine the angle of the burn that is most efficient using trigonometry. I will use a right angled triangle as horizontal and vertical components are perpendicular to each other. My hypotenuse will be 769.2887921 meters per second, and I'll need to make my horizontal component 542.413 meters per second to negate the velocity of the Mun. Therefore, using trig, I can find that the angle of my burn is 45.164 degrees, making it 44.84 degrees relative to the line to Kerbin. Once I escape the Mun's sphere of influence, I will need to conduct some minor correctional burns in order to create a favourable pass through the atmosphere of Kerbin to slow us down and help us land. That's pretty much it. All of the maths for our Mun mission is complete. I just need to create a rocket that fits the mission parameters. An 100-kilometer low Kerbin orbit requiring 4,000 meters per second of delta V. 850 meters per second delta V burn, where the Mun is 20.71 degrees ahead of the prograde direction of the craft. 400 meters per second for us to capture into a 30-kilometer Mun orbit. 800 meters per second to land on the Mun. 550 meters per second to return to a 20-kilometer orbit. 225 meters per second to complete the return to Kerbin burn. And 200 meters per second for extra redundancy and orbital changes due to small inaccuracies. Also, it should be mentioned that my delta V equation slightly underestimates the delta V, so that will add another safety net with the delta V calculation. We should now be cross-fading over to the multiple builds and test flights and the eventual flight and landing on the Mun. I'll put the timestamps on the screen for all of these right now. But first, before my brilliant live commentary, we need to discuss lander design. There are a couple options. 1. Have the landing stage and ascent stage be combined into one, creating a heavy ascent stage which is not as efficient, as we discussed last episode. 2. Have a lander with landing engines attached radially, which can then be decoupled to leave a lighter central ascent stage, increasing the efficiency of the return to Kerbal. Have a lander with the landing stage directly below the ascent stage, where the ascent stage decouples from the top. This makes the lander much taller, but makes it slimmer and easier to fit into the fairing on top of the initial launch vehicle. Obviously I didn't go with the first option. Then I created a few prototype landers. The biggest issue I found with the wide landers, I would have to develop a new launch vehicle in order to accommodate for the heckin' chonker profile of the lander. Whereas the vertical lander could be created from an adapted version of Series 1, a rocket which had proven itself to be capable of transporting a craft to the Mun and back. So I opted for a vertical lander. I will now pass you over to live commentary me for maybe the final time. Thank you very much, Editor Me, and hello everybody. I am very, very excited to be narrating what could be the final mission in this series. Probably not, I want to continue it, it's a pretty good series. So you can see me here starting to design our brand new lander for the Mun. It's basically going to be a repeat of the Sawyer style capsule we had last time because that worked really well. But you'll notice here I'm completely redesigning it. They're using the Gemini capsule, so we can have 2 Kerbals. I've got I think it's the Onion top capsule as our orbital module, so we can have 2 Kerbals as well. But other than that minor difference, the construction of the orbital module is going to remain basically the same. That's because it's proven to work. I know I have a launch vehicle which is capable of putting it in orbit fairly reliably. I say reliably, my reliability there is going to be once. And also, I want to add some science modules, because otherwise we're going to the Mun, the end of this series, and I haven't done any science in this series yet, so I may as well do a little bit now. But yeah, I was very happy with how this design came out. At the moment, it looks exactly like it did last time, so there's absolutely zero change from there was last time. But as we go down, we're going to see the change which I spoke about in our lander design section of the video. Essentially, I'm going to add another booster section on the bottom. So you'll see that there's a Terrier engine with that top bit which will decouple, and that will be what returns to Kerbal. This bottom section I'm building now, which is the essential bottom section of the usual orbital module, will be responsible for landing us on the Mun. This does make it very, very tall. Nah, I mean, tall things never fall over, do they? Yes. It's foreshadowing. But I need to put 2 sets of solar panels on it this time. I need to put 2 sets of batteries. Because once I detach that top section, I still need to have electricity for my return back to Kerbal. I've opted for 2 Terra engines, very efficient, very good engines, which can gimbal, high vacuum efficiency. That's pretty much what we want. But still keeping that emergency fuel cell. What you'll notice, the eagle-eyed viewers among you will notice that I didn't put any hydrogen in, so I have no ability to actually use that fuel cell. But we'll brush past that bit, and I'm adding EVA experiments. I only have unlocked 1 EVA experiment, which is a little bit disappointing, to be completely honest with you. But I mean, it's there. It's something to put down. It's pretty cool. Yeah, basically that bottom section of the lander will remain on the Mun. And I wanted to initially make it into essentially like a relay network for the experiments which I put down. But looking at the weight calculation, so we were very tight on our margins for this. So it's really tight on the margins to make it efficient. Looking at the mass calculation, adding that ground-based sort of relay antenna, the mass that I would add sort of pushed us a little bit too far for getting us to the Mun. So I thought, well, I won't add it. I'll add a small communitron. So if something is in orbit, I could later do a relay satellite in a polar orbit, which is something I was considering doing. That would mean that we could then communicate back to Kerbal, which I think is going to be the plan now, because that doesn't have that. Anyway, So there is my complete lander design. I've completely neglected to talk about the two little side boosters. You know what? I'm going to save talking about the side boosters for later. You've got that to look forward to. You can see them now, but I'm pushing it forward. Oh, exciting. Something to look forward to. And all I've done is I've strapped it onto the Series 1 launch vehicle, widened the fairing just a little bit, and, you know, called it a day. Yeah, the fairing is a little bit wider to accommodate for those extra boosters. You'll notice, seeing as this is a lander, there's no landing legs. I shall touch on this later. But yes, you can see me now setting up the abort system, and basically the purpose of this flight is to check that I haven't built it terribly, and to do a small suborbital hop to check my workings, basically, before we go to the Mun. Anyway, I should now be quiet for the launch. And it is a pretty good launch. I mean, you can see it's very sped up. We've done lots of launches now. I don't want to bore you with the boring ascent bit of of the mission. We can speed through that quickly. You've seen this exact rocket launch before. Got the RD-107 engines, thanks to all the comments last videos, which explained the whole positive plan. That was really interesting. I went on Wikipedia and read up. Very, very interesting. I'd recommend you have a Google as well, or look in the comments of the last video. Lots of people explained it really well. And we're getting to the cross now. We will stage, and oh dear, oh that's not what we wanted, and I've had to abort. Oh dear, this is the first abort of the series. What has happened? Well, we've gone to decouple our side boosters, and there's been an explosion. The fairing's gone, and the side boosters have disappeared on our top lander. So something interesting has happened here. There's a little bit of glitching around undocking this. I'm glad I did a test run. So something obviously hasn't gone right here. Very interesting. So we'll have to take it back to the drawing board and have a look at what our problem is. Now, this is the first failure of the run. I'm glad I had a launch abort system, because I have no revert to VAB or space plane hangar or launch or anything. I have no quick saves which I can load other than glitches. So in this scenario, if I didn't have, our launch escape system, our Kerbals they probably wouldn't have died. I have a loss of altitude to play around with, but it could have gone wrong if it was a bigger catastrophe. Anyway, splashdown there using our retro boosters, and we are back to the drawing board. And I had a look at my staging, and I realised that the decoupling for those side boosters was also at the same time as our boosters on the first stage. So basically, when those boosters on the first stage separated, it also separated those boosters which destroyed the fairing and caused an explosion. Now you'll see me here and realise, I haven't put any landing legs on it. For a lander, that's pretty rubbish. So I've now added the landing legs. I have to just shuffle some bits around, but basically it is the exact same. Nothing on this lander has changed other than I've added landing legs. And I've changed the staging so it doesn't blow up again. Anyway, on to Series 3 now. Series 2, very short-lived. Series 3 has the exact same mission objective as Series 2, which is to perform a small, practically suborbital hop in order to show that my lander is working and doesn't blow up spontaneously. So we have this exact same ascent profile. We spoke about it in the second video. I want to say, second video we spoke about it, where essentially the ascent profile I want to be turned over to 45 degrees by 15,000 meters, and then I basically follow the progress marker until I reach a nice steady 100 kilometer orbit. 100 kilometer orbit gives me some wiggle room. It's also, the 100 kilometers is the Kármán line in real life, which is the supposed start of space, so I like to aim for it a little bit. You can see a little bit of flame on the rocket this time. I'm going a little bit too quickly, but that's alright. And you'll notice I sort of overcooked our apoapsis a little bit, so I'm having to burn down. To be honest, I'm going to hold my hands up here. So far in this series, we have had 0 good ascent profiles. This launch follows the exact same problem of you can't do a good launch. So if you're looking for a tutorial of how do I do a good, don't watch this. You know what? Do the opposite of what I'm doing, because I'm doing a terrible job. Something I would like to point out: my cheetah engine. I don't think I'm going to stick with it for the final mission. It just doesn't have a high enough thrust for the increased mass of my lander vehicle anymore, so I will need a more powerful engine. As you will see here, as I'm trying to circularize, I started my burn way too late. I didn't do another calculation with the added mass of the lander, which means I then have to point a little bit up to avoid just like re-entering the atmosphere as you do a circularization burn. This creates a really, really elliptical orbit. But I mean, this isn't. That's some notes we can take. But to be honest, the purpose of this flight was to test the lander in space, do all of its staging events, have a little play around with it, and make sure it's good. So that's a note, but it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that we can't perform our mission objective. So all in all, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, as you can see, as I've circularized, I'm at 80,000 meters. I started my burn at 100,000 meters. Yeah, not great. But eventually, just by sheer luck, we must do a good orbit. So you can see me redoing the staging again. The staging still wasn't correct, so I had to redo it once more, which is a bit annoying, but I mean, it's not the end of the world. And now you can see how the lander works. So these two side boosters I should talk about now. So they're basically to do a little bit of the circularization burn, and also to do the initial deorbit around the Mun to get us landed. So they don't do the landing themselves, they just add a little bit of boof to slow us down enough so that we are in a collision course with the Mun, so that the engine of the actual lander can do that final burn. I did it this way just so that I could attach it to decrease the mass and make us a little bit more efficient. Otherwise we'd have an even taller lander. It's already too tall. I don't have this problem, I'm not tall. The lander is though. You'll also probably notice something else interesting about this lander, which you shall see when we land on the Mun. It has no ladders on it. I should not be allowed to design anything, I forget about it. So yeah, decouple there, completely fine decoupling of that top orbital module. Now we just have the descent stage, and once again we have the lovely entry. It's not friction. So many people come to the last video to say it's not friction. Thank you for telling me. It is compression. I did research it because there's absolutely nothing to do with the challenge. It's very interesting. You can see me playing around with PlanetShine there to get better visuals on YouTube. But yeah, compression, I read it. Very interesting. Didn't realise that's how it worked. Thanks for letting me know. And now you can see us start building Series 4. This is it. This is it. Are you excited? I'm really excited. I hope you're excited. So, that first stage has more fuel tanks. I have changed that cheetah engine to a bobcat. I've added more fuel to the orbital stage. It's bigger, it's more exciting. It's got more ka-chow to it. And we're going to our launch. You know what? I might even be quiet for this launch so you can watch it. How good would that be? I'll be quiet so you can watch it. Oh, shut up now. And we have liftoff. That means I am. How many rockets? I'm 6 launches. 6 for 6. I'm calculating my thrust to weight ratio correctly. Wouldn't that be awkward if it didn't take off? I was running the extra fuel tank. No, 6 for 6 on my thrust to weight ratio calculations. It has a love thrust rate. It's such a good thrust ratio that I have to reduce the thrust on that main engine. Look at me go, over-engineering once again. But you can see us burning through our entire first stage, creating a nice ascent. And then, yeah, we've got this brand new Bobcat engine, which has a greater thrust to it to help with that circularization. More fuel as well, more Delta V. It's a heavier payload this time, and we're sending it further. Oh, look at our circularization. Isn't this lovely? I can't believe it. I've done an actually good one for once. Yeah. What you'll notice about this, I've done an absolute stellar. Look at that. I eyeballed that. Oh, absolute cinema. Anyway, so 4,000 meters a second to get us into orbit roughly. I am now hunting for that 20.71 degree angle ahead of our prograde direction for the Mun to be in for that perfect transfer window. I shall put a picture up again of me holding a protractor up to the screen in order to measure it. You'll notice I play PlanetShine quite a lot. It's because it was really dark for some reason. I couldn't figure out why. Anyway, we are in and we are starting our burn. Our burn, 847 meters a second of delta V for a final velocity of 3,087 meters a second in order to get a hopefully free return trajectory around the Mun. This will completely deplete our upper stage, and it's a little bit short. So we're a little bit short of where we want to be. That's all right. I would have wanted that to just be a little bit more eccentric, but for what it is, it's pretty good. So we're now transferring over to the Mun. We've done this before. We did it last episode. We've shown that we can do it. And once again, we've done literally, we've replicated what we did last episode. I mean, that's good. It shows we're consistent, shows that the calculation works, we're very consistent. But yeah, we've once again, we've gone a bit too low. So obviously our orbit wasn't entirely equatorial, or our burn wasn't along the equatorial line. So our first thing we need to do is to not crash into the Mun. As you can see me do here, I'm going to burn radial in, out. Radial out, that's going to increase my periapsis such that we don't crash into the Mun. My second burn is going to be, I don't know which one, anti-normal, up. I'm burning up. Basically, it changes my entries so it's more aligned to the equator. So if I do choose, when we get to go, no-go bit, if I do choose to return to Kerbal, I'm not ejecting into a really high orbit. So we have come out of time warp now, and we are approaching our circularization burn of the Mun. This is go, no-go. We have started our circularization burn now. Our engines, yes, they have circularized us. We have sufficient delta V to circularize. It didn't take anywhere near as much delta V as I thought it would, which is interesting. Something I'm definitely going to look at in the future, but we have now circularized. We're going to detach these radial fuel tanks. We're decreasing the mass of our lander. This means it's going to have a greater delta V. You know, delta V is dependent on mass and the thrust of the engine. If our mass decreases but our thrust and fuel remain the same, our delta V increases. So we have just increased the delta V of our craft. Gucci stuff. So now I have a decision to make. Do I orbit around, or do I go for it here? You'll see me zoom into the Mun there a little bit, and I do just clip the surface. I go, you know what? In for a penny, in for a pound. You won't understand that if you're not British. If you're not British, you have absolutely no idea what it means. But yeah, I'm going for it. I've started my deorbit burn. The landing sequence has started. There is no go. Well, to be fair, there is going back now. To be honest, I could just recircularize. I've chosen the landing site between some craters. I didn't want to go on the very bright side because that side I would have no communication with Kerbal. I wanted to go on this little bit here where there is still light, not a dark side. Don't want to go on a dark side. That's a rubbish bit. But yeah, as we slow down, I'm now going to pass you over to live commentary. What I was saying as I was doing it. Okay, it's altitude 5,000. Okay, my speed's a bit low over predicted. Yeah. Okay, I can decrease throttle a little bit. 3,000. Speed's above predicted now. Want to just increase throttle just a smidge to decrease my velocity. Okay, approaching 2,000 now. Yeah, nice deceleration. Don't crash. Don't crash. Okay, we're starting our big burn now. Approaching 1,000. 50 meters a second. Okay. We're going too slow for altitude. Are we going to land on those rocks? Yeah, I think we are. I think that's annoying. Okay, I'm going to have to just alter my trajectory a little bit. Okay, I'm at nice steady speed, approaching 600. Don't crash. Yeah, that's a just... Yeah, that way, yeah. Approaching 400. 20 meters a second. Okay, good. We're going a bit quick now. Okay, let's slow ourselves down a bit. Increase the thrust. Perfect. Approaching 200. Don't crash, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. Oh, so close, don't crash. Approaching 100. Speed 7. 90. 80. 70. 60. Good speed. Decelerate a bit. 50. Don't crash. 40. 30. Good speed. 20. Slow us down just a bit. 10. 5.
It's one small step for man.
Yes! Oh! Yes! Yes! Oh! Oh, yes! Oh, don't fall over. Oh, yes, man. Yeah, it looks like it's going to spaz out. Yes! I was just only a little bit excited at the Land on the Mun, obviously. Anyway, sorry, if you didn't notice, I'm now back to the commentary I was on before. I've switched off my live commentary. Oh yeah, I was a little bit excited. Jeb and Bill have landed on the moon. Somebody told me it's pronounced moon. I do speak German. The umlaut on the U is like, yeah, fair enough. But I mean, I'm still going to say mun. We've landed on the moon. Yeah. Jeb taking the first steps on the surface. Customary. Let's plant a flag. What do you do when you go to a new celestial body? Oh no, litter. Immediately, frame 0. It's not human if we're not, well, it's not Kerbal if we're not littering. Bush. But yeah, I mean, that was a perfect landing. I couldn't have asked for a better landing, to be honest. I was very, very happy with that landing. If you couldn't tell. But yeah, let's take a surface sample from Jeb. You know, full Despicable Me. Tonight we steal the moon. I can't do a good Gru impression. And I can now start unpacking these EVA experiments, which I'm very excited about. I've never actually done EVA experiments before. Now, Eli among you, notice something. What has disappeared from Bill Kerman, our engineer? Something very important. You know how earlier I said, oh, I forgot to put a ladder on it. Number one, we don't have extendable ladders, so I couldn't put a ladder on it. So I'm relying on their EVA packs to get in and out of the lander. What does Bill Kerman no longer have? No. Somewhere along the line, his EVA pack has poof disappeared. I don't know where it's gone. It has just disappeared. So I thought, okay, I'll get Jeb back in. Jeb can take off his EVA pack. I'll put that in the Gemini capsule. Bill can take it out of the Gemini capsule and wear it. Brilliant. Sometimes my genius literally knows. Anyway, yeah, sorry, I'm doing the science experiments on the lander now, getting some extra science. Oh, summer science. I mean, it's going to be great. Yeah, take out his EVA pack, put it in the Gemini capsule, struggling. Bill can take it out of the Gemini capsule, Bill's an EVA suit, he can get back in the lander. Bing, bang, bosh. Bill's, yeah, I don't know, I had nothing to say there. I'm running out of things to say if you couldn't tell. He's put it on, let's turn my RC. Oh. There's no oh dear, there's no oh. Right, Bill, I know you went to Oxford Brookes, and obviously your engineering degree is just shocking, but please, you must have at least done some societies. Let's hope one of them was gymnastics. Was it? It doesn't look like it, does it? No. Oh dear. Bill might be stuck, guys. He might be stuck. One big jump. No, okay. Ripperoni Billeroni, guys. This is rubbish. Oh, we did it. Yeah, Oxford Brookes is good for something. People who aren't English really won't understand that joke. It's a really tasteless joke as well. Yeah, anyway, in the time it's taken for me to do all that, Bill has got back in, all the science is collected, and we are ready to reascend. And we have liftoff. Now I'm aiming for the 90-degree line, I went for the wrong one. Silly me. And we are aiming for as much of an equatorial orbit as we can get. That will make our transfer back to Kerbal as easy as possible. I was aiming for a 20-kilometre orbit in order to avoid the surface features like these massive craters you can see. So I'm going to just burn until my apoapsis is of 20 kilometres, circularise, and then begin hunting for that transfer angle. So this ascent profile is the exact same ascent profile. It can be a lot more shallow because there's no atmosphere. There's gravity's lower, and so it requires less delta V. I should have enough delta V. I've got 700 meters a second left. I'm currently going at about 400 meters a second, so I should have some to spare, which is quite nice. But you'll notice if you go back that actually our delta V was bang on the money for what we needed. I did a pretty stellar job of that. Go me. But yeah, in this little lull, I shall say that this video was originally 2 hours long. If you would like to see the supercut, it will get posted at some point if you really want to sit through that. But yeah, anyway, so this 45-degree angle, as you saw earlier in the video, line to Kerbin to our craft should make a 45-degree angle, and we are going to begin our burn for our escape velocity, which will need to be about 790 meters a second, is what we said. So we're burning about 200 meters a second of delta V. That then gives us approximately 200 meters a second of delta V to spare, just in case we need to make some orbital adjustments. This is a make or break point. If I mess this up, the Kerbals will never get home. So we have now escaped, continuing that burn. It properly escaped, finished the burn. Brilliant. That's pretty good. Now we just have to time warp, praying I've got my hands together. Dear Kerbal God, if you are there, make my Kerbals live. Oh, I did it. I did maths. So something I've noticed about Parallax is inside Kerbin, so I need to adjust that because although heat shields in this game are massively overpowered, if I go straight into the planet from the Mun, it might go a little bit wrong. So I'm just going to increase my periapsis a little bit. I'm aiming for around 20,000 meters. That basically means that we're going to go through a lot of the atmosphere. That's going to help us slow down, and it's not going to cause it to blow up, because things blowing up tend to not be the best. I mean, I'm not an expert, as you could probably tell, but I'm trying to avoid blowing up generally sometimes. I mean, I did have a few blowing up a bit, didn't I? Anyway, I'm once again changing PlanetShine so you can see what's going on, because the YouTube compression will just it will just be a black screen. You'll be like, I don't know what's going on and the commentary is terrible. Yeah, we've done it. Using only A-level physics. Have we done it? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. The KSP's got a vendetta against us. No. Let go. I just want to go home. Oh dear. What a horrible way to... Oh! Maybe there is a Kerbal God. We don't know. But yeah, using only A-level physics stuff, which is based for Americans, that is high school physics, we have gone to the Mun and back. That was the aim of this series. And that sort of moves me on to the point of, what do we do next? Obviously Minmus. Then Juna. That's right. We're not stopping here. We're going further. Soon, TM. But yeah, you can see us descending. We're going quite fast. I've got the big chute up, and now we're going at a nice steady pace. And we shall activate the retro rockets. 10 meters a second, that's a little bit fast. That will hurt your bottom. My official medicine opinion is it shall hurt your bottom. But But I got too distracted by PlanetShine once again, and I didn't. So, Bill and Jeb are going to have some hurt bottoms. Official opinion. Yeah, I'm going to recover the vessel. Science. Oh, look at that. 470 science. What am I going to do with all of that? Dunno. You have to see the next video, won't you? But yeah, and that's it. That's the end of this video. And I'm just going to very quickly touch on what's going to happen in the future. Number one, Discord server will be coming soon. I shall put it in the community post if you'd like to join the Discord community. I don't know how to do stuff, but we shall see if it works. Going into the future, I'm going to take a little break. Making these videos takes all week. Like, genuinely all week. It takes me a couple hours to write them, do the maths. Then I've got to make the animations, and that takes me all weekend. I've been doing that 3 weeks on the trot. I love doing it, it's really fun. But I'm going to have a quick break, maybe a couple week break. Then we're going to come back, we're going to do a few more MUN missions, we're going to do Minmus missions, and we're going to see if we can do Interplanetary. June is on the schedule. But in the meantime, until those videos start coming out, I'm going to put some easier to make videos, so I'm going to do a couple more MUN missions without the math segment, so it will just be playthrough. I'm thinking about doing it on some streams as well, which might be interesting. I said earlier, this video was originally 2 hours long. I'm very tempted to put the supercut out. So the whole MUN mission, not sped up, was 44 minutes long. If people are interested, there is a whole narrated version. If you can stand to listen to me for 44 minutes, just yapping, there is a whole narrated version there that has been cut down because I go on. But if people are interested, then that is there. Let me know in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to subscribe. More is coming. Like the video so I can feel happy about myself, and comment about where I was wrong. But I really hope you did enjoy, and I shall see you very, very soon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.